Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brothers, sisters, dear friends. I hope you're all the best health and iman. I'm your host, Kaamil. Got a special guest today, my brother,
Assalamu alaikum.
Abdirahman.
Assalamu alaikum.
Um,
I'm good,
how you doing,
alhamdulillah.
bro?
Long time,
Oh,
man.
I'm salam, man. Yeah, man,
Yeah.
too long, too long. I just wanted to get you on today. I think usually we talk about quite specific topics, whether it be
Mm.
Islamophobia, prayer. But I think with the recent events, especially in America, what's going on, I think we
Yeah,
kind of have to
definitely.
react to it and just talk about, kind of just talk from the heart, isn't it, about what's
100%.
going on. So yeah, man. What were your thoughts on the murder of George Floyd, man? It
Yeah,
was
yeah.
brutal,
Well,
wasn't it?
watching the video back, seeing like at first, what everyone saw was that one police officer on his neck, and you were thinking, obviously, that was what was the need for that? First of all, to have your knee on his neck,
Yeah,
but then recently there's been more footage now. We see that there's four officers, three pinning him down, one by the ankle, one by the hip, one by the chest, and then this guy on his neck.
exactly.
What was the reason? What was
What was the
oh
need, man? Yeah, and it was exactly what
subhanallah,
oh my
man.
days. And like if you look at there was
100.
CCTV, yeah, there was CCTV
Yeah.
footage from a shop. I don't know if you saw that where the one of the main officers he said like in the statement afterwards he's like um that George Floyd may rest in power um he was like
Mm-hmm.
resisting arrest and like that was kind of the narrative
100%.
that they were
Yeah.
like pushing. But but as soon as the footage came, it could see he was
Hundred
calm,
percent.
completely calm. Obviously, you're not gonna be like like he was fuming and that, of course, but he weren't like resisting
Definitely, bro.
arrest or nothing. And he's on the floor and that. And the funny thing is, it's like I saw something on Twitter and it was like, who do you call when the people
100.
murdering are the
Wallahi,
police?
it's
It's
so
quite
true.
ironic, isn't it? Like where'd you
Yeah.
go? Like where'd you go? These people are supposed to be protecting you, and it's
And
essentially
I think
police genocide.
that's why everyone
Some
they've all
analysts.
taken it they've taken action into their own hands now. That's now the riots in America, people burning down
Yeah,
stores and all that. But one important thing I think I'd like to note
it's
on
crazy,
top of
man.
what you said with the video recording of the CCTV. One
Yeah,
funny thing is that if you watch the video back, you'll notice the Asian officer. He says when they're
yeah.
saying why don't you put him inside the car, the police car, he says don't do drugs, kids, and that was quite an interesting. That's quite interesting thing
What?
he said there. Don't do drugs, and the reason that he was being
Yeah,
arrested was
that's a bit of a
because of an alleged forgery or something like that. So for you to say don't do drugs,
yeah.
you're
It
creating
was
a
nothing to
narrative
do
that
with
this
drugs.
guy's a crackhead and this is why he's been detained this way. It's, I just found it so.
Yeah, it's kind of
It's,
just fueling.
I just
Yeah,
didn't understand what was going on, and
it's
I feel
astounding,
like,
isn't it?
especially that officer, the one that was on his neck, I feel like officers they need to be evaluated psychologically before they're given a job as police officers because the lives of
One hundred
civilians are
percent.
in their hands, and if they can't carry out this simple duty of protecting the
Exactly,
civilians instead of killing them, then stuff like this is bound to happen again, and it has happened again time and
exactly.
time
And the
again,
funny thing is,
time and
it's
again, bro.
happened time and again, bro. Like the fact that this has become such a regularity is like mind-boggling. But it should like one of these cases is
It's
too
one
many.
too
Like it's
many,
getting to the point
hundred
where in like
percent,
the
bro.
hundreds, man. It's just honestly. And the funny thing is, if it's quite there's a bit of a discrepancy for me because if you look at in America, the justice system is messed up. But if you look at becoming a lawyer in America, it takes 7 years
Hmm.
approximately to become a lawyer. Whereas to become a police officer and have like the right to use a gun and all that stuff takes an 8 week course.
It's mind-boggling, honestly. That
So in 8 weeks, you become someone who essentially takes the law into their own hands,
Wallah, it's,
which is
honestly,
just
man,
astounding.
it's just I can't. It's so mad to wrap your head around what's happening. Like, over the past few years,
Yeah,
we've seen other black young men, innocent black young men, killed for no reason whatsoever. And I think this one was the
yeah, man.
spark that ignited, and it just ignited everyone's spark, and that's what's led. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Hundred
it was
percent,
waiting to like
exactly. And
blaze,
all the
isn't
other
it?
ones, like they were all extremely significant. Don't get me wrong; they were all honestly they were horrors, human horrors. But
Yeah,
this one was the one that
of
just
course,
led
of
the.
course.
Oh, well, like, it's emotional thinking about it. Like I was watching the video
Yeah,
back a couple of times the other day.
it is, man.
Every time I did,
It is. It's like I can't breathe. Like imagine your
I
last words
can't
being "I
breathe. He's
can't
calling
breathe,"
out for
man.
his
It's
mum.
just
Subhanallah. Well, I just,
yeah, man.
yeah,
And the funny thing is, it's like yeah, bro. Like these, it's just mind-boggling to see that such officers are being like he's walking free, bro. He's not nothing. He's
100%.
been fired, but not he's
Yeah.
still walking free. And this guy in 2011, he shot a man like
Serious.
was
I
on
had
duty.
heard of this.
He shot him. Yeah, there was a bit of a back. Someone did a background check on him, and it was found that this guy killed like while on duty. He shot someone in the head, a black man in the head, and he's like a very ardent Trump
Yeah,
supporter,
I've
MAGA
seen the
hat. You know what I
pictures.
mean? Like
Yeah.
white supremacist. That's his back. That's his
Literally a
background,
picture of
isn't
him
it?
wearing a
And
MAGA
when you
hat
got the
saying "Make white
yeah
people great again."
yeah
How do you,
oh
how do you
my
allow these
day.
people to protect the
Ah,
country? People like these. It's
honestly,
a joke
man,
thing, Allah.
because they've all got their own
Hundred
sly
percent, man.
agendas, isn't it?
It's extremely sad to see, man. Wallah.
Yeah, man. But these protests, like, it's just like, did you see today
Yeah,
the
no, he's
CNN
been
reporter?
arrested for. I was
He
I
was
had to laugh
arrested.
watching that 100
I
say
started laughing, man.
CNN,
Oh my
man. I just
days.
laughed. He couldn't have been
It just gets
calmer
so
with his
stupid.
explanation as to what he was doing, why he was there.
Yeah, and then they said to him that exactly, and then they said to him that, oh, because you're in the way and we're trying to go back to the precinct, but you're in the way. He's like, wherever you want us, he even said it various times,
We will go.
wherever you want us to go,
It's crazy.
we will go. And they're like arresting this guy. And the funny thing is, bro, there was a white correspondent as well, CNN
Mm,
correspondent who was doing the exact same thing in the exact same area. He did not get arrested. So we all know why. Let's be honest, we all know
yeah,
why he got arrested,
yeah. If we're following the everything that's going on, it's quite obvious what's going on here. Racism
Yeah,
it's
man.
a deep stemming problem in the American society. It's not only American, excuse me, in the world or like society. Yeah,
Society, man. Like this is another thing. Like in this country, especially, like, bro, there's this idea that racism in this country is subtle. It's like
mm,
it's just very subtle. For me, that's not the case. Like in America, it's very. I think America, the race divide is
exactly.
much
Yeah,
more profound. But in this country, for me, it's racism, but it's
hundred
more so
percent. I
classism
agree with that too.
for me. Because in America, you can go to the main cities like Chicago, you can go LA, New York, Baltimore, a lot of the main cities. You have the ghetto where it's
Mm,
like just black people. In this country, it's not really like that. You can't go to like if you go to inner city London, it's like a
yeah,
mix of people. Like you will have working a lot of working class white people
yeah.
there. In around the working class West Africans, Indian subcontinent, all these people. So it's not necessary. Of course, there's gonna be like race. It's gonna be more race. I wouldn't say it's not like
Yeah.
redneck racist like it is
Mm.
in America, if that makes sense. It's racist. It comes from the same place, but it's not executed in the same way, if that makes sense. I think
The,
it's more for
I
me. It's
think
more
in
nuanced.
addition to that, partly to do with why that is just looking at the size of America. It's almost as if each state is their own country, if you know what I mean. They're all
Exactly.
intertwined, but they're all separate of each
Hmm.
other. So that's why this like
Exactly.
racism can be so widespread. Because in London, if something happens in London, the whole of the not the whole the whole of the UK will find out about it, you know what I mean? If something significant happens. In America, it's sort of
Yeah.
separate here, separate there. So it's quite you understand it.
Yeah. That's true, and I think it's quite that's a good point, bro. Because America, like even if you go back to slavery, it wasn't a whole of
Split between
America.
the
It
north
was
and the
only
south,
like
wasn't it?
generally there was the 13 colonies of
Yeah.
the Eastern Seaboard, I think it was, or something like that. So when you've got it's weird because it's like where if you look at where most of these things happen, a lot of, it's there's always a bit of a trend, like it's always in the same
Yeah.
states, if that makes sense.
Deep
It's always
that's
in the deep south.
yeah.
I mean,
Louisiana one is
the deep south,
one to
man, the deep
mention,
south. But exactly, man, it's just like, bro, like where do we go from here? You know what I mean? Like I don't know, bro. As a black man, how do you feel? Like where do you see
yeah.
any light at
Allah,
the
to
end
be
of the
honest with
tunnel?
you, this is the amount of time that this has happened and there's been no change. And the whole time there's been, relatively
Yeah.
peaceful protests, people are asking for change, asking for police officers who are obviously not in the right state of mind to be evaluated and checked out before they're given a gun and a badge. And nothing's changed over
Yeah,
these. Like, it hasn't been a short period of time. This has been stemming over the past, never the past 10 years.
yeah.
From the beginning of this country, this country was built off of racism.
I think that's why there's not really any light at the end of
Honestly,
the
man.
tunnel because America, if you look at the society, it's society. You can argue society built on oppression. It's organized in a way where black people they will not bear the fruit of the toil that their forefathers
Yeah,
had endured. You know what I mean? Like if you look at just like opportunities, just you go to these cities, bro. It's just so much of a discrepancy in terms of wealth. Like you'd think you can go to some of these areas, like you can go to the south side of Chicago and you'd be thinking you're walking about in like a third
honestly,
world country. It's
wallahi,
incredible.
it's just I don't understand how this country can operate like this.
And this is the funny thing is we were speaking earlier, like, and you were like, America's like starting to
Yeah,
look like a country like it
yeah,
was invading,
wallahi.
and that was such a
Yeah,
good point,
for any of
man.
you that don't know what I said, me and Camille were talking about the riots in Minneapolis and how everything's starting to look like how when America invade these Middle Eastern countries on the pretext of we're here to help them, we're here to
uh,
take out these oppressive Al Qaeda leaders, these Muslim oppressors and stuff like that. And when they leave these places in absolute ruin and devastation. People, innocent people killed, and
yeah,
it's blatantly we can blatantly see it. America is starting to turn into one of these countries that they do this to. So, that was quite an ironic thing for me. I was
yeah,
watching this and
man.
I thought,
Yeah, it was very like you look at is like it did look
a war
like a
zone,
war
didn't it?
like a war torn
100%.
yeah, like,
Yeah,
it looked like a war zone, bro.
and I feel like this
It looked
this is
like a
not
war
going to
zone.
stop for a while. And have you seen
I neither do I, man.
President Trump's tweet?
Oh my days. What were you talking about? Like they'll get the man out to shoot him and stuff, yeah?
You're the
Oh my
president of the
days.
entire nation. What was? Why would you say that?
Oh my days.
It just makes me think. It makes me
Yeah,
think if
it's
this is their leader,
incredible.
this is
Like,
no wonder this country is done for. Subhanallah. How can
yeah,
like
man.
that? If luckily people are out here writing, so they don't have time to get out their phones and go on Twitter. But I guarantee you, if people who are writing and absolute outrage, if they saw this,
The
bro,
man's glorifying violence, bro.
oh, I have no words for that. What that tweet? What was the need for it?
Yeah, if you, brother and sister, if you don't know which tweet we're referring to, it was like a thread, wasn't it? He began by speaking about, he said, Donald Trump, he said, I can't stand back and watch this happen to a great American city, Minneapolis. A total lack of leadership. Either the very weak radical left man, Jacob Frey, can get his act together and bring the city under control, or we'll send in the National Guard and get the job done right. And of course, if you have been following the news, Twitter have kind of like, they've kind of censored some of his tweets
Yeah.
because it breaches their rules, innit? And then he went on to say, and I think this is the one that got everyone. It was that these thugs are dishonoring the memory of George Floyd. And I won't let that happen. Just spoke to Governor Tim Walz and told him that the military is with him all the way. Any difficulty and we will assume control. But when the looting starts, the shooting starts. Thank you.
What
Like
is
this
he
guy, what
talking
is he
about?
talking about?
Wallahi,
He's
if one person is killed,
he's essentially
if
he's
one
glorifying
person is
violence,
killed
bro.
in this,
Oh
the
my
whole of
days,
America will outrage. And I feel like there will be a
bro.
there will be a revolution in our hands. Well, not in our hands, but in the Americans' hands.
You
But
think?
this is it's shaping up to look that way. Subhanallah. I don't think it will
Yeah,
do it because their military is strong enough to stop anything like that. But honestly, it's shaping up to look like
yeah, that's true.
it's shaping up to look like that. Yeah, it's
It's not looking good.
but like that. Oh, Subhanallah.
The president of the United States said that. That's just what makes me laugh. It's like when you look at these sort of tweets, they're the sort of tweets that come from like it's like the ones where they ain't even
Yeah,
got a profile picture.
it's just like random.
Is that Rooney? It's like Rooney underscore 786 and that, bro. These weird accounts and that. But
The
this is
president
Donald Trump
of
tweeting
the
it, man.
nation as well. Yeah,
Yeah, like the most powerful country in the world, and that's what he's tweeting. Oh
I
my days.
really am interested to see how this will all unfold over the next few weeks.
Honestly,
Oh
yeah, man.
no,
All we can pray for is not
no,
no more blood
100%,
is
bro.
spilled, innit?
But that's the last thing we want.
The thing
Obviously,
is, bro,
I don't agree with
that's
the
it, man.
violent
And
riots, but something has to be done
yeah,
in order for them to listen. And the peaceful protests, they didn't work. The marches, they didn't work.
it didn't.
The outcries didn't it didn't work. These people had to suffer with they had their siblings. They were siblings. They were mothers. They were fathers. They were dear friends. They were taken
Mhm.
away. Stuff like not in the time that they should have been. Allahu alam, but obviously that was the time they were meant
Exactly.
to go. But because of the actions of a
Yes.
few police officers who are, I don't even want to say in a wrong state of mind because they know what they're doing. They know what they're
They do.
doing.
That's the thing. It's like they're sick. They're completely sick, isn't it? But it's like they're sick in the way where they believe that they're doing something right. It's these people. This is another thing. The media will not talk about them in the right
No.
way. Yeah, we see it in this country with the media where they're like lone. They describe him as a lone wolf. But if it's one of us, oh, he's part of a gang
100%.
or he's part of it.
Love to drive that
He's part of
narrative,
a.
don't
It was
they?
like a grooming gangs
Yeah.
and stuff. Exactly. I haven't even heard anything about this guy. I don't even know his name. A lot of people don't even
Allah.
know his name. If
That was
that
a
was a
Muslim,
suspected Muslim guy,
100%. If that
bruv,
was
his
if
name
his
would be,
name was in
bro.
any sort of way linked to, yeah, if it sounded like an Arab name, an Asian name, a Somali name, any name with
That's the
anything,
thing, man.
with Muhammad or subhanallah, the way it would be all over the news,
Yeah,
posted on walls,
bruv.
on
If you
Facebook
have to
pages.
use your throat to pronounce man's name, yeah, best believe it's on Sky News.
Oh,
Yeah. Let's
subhanallah,
be
it's
honest.
crazy, man.
Let's
Wallah.
be honest.
It's like when it's us, the media, it's like they execute a wolf
Mhm.
hunt or a witch hunt. Sorry, that's the more appropriate thing. It's
Yeah,
like
witch
witch
hunt.
hunt.
That's it. Yeah, witch
Find out
hunt,
this guy.
man.
Find out who his family is.
100%.
Find out his background. We've got this guy who's in
Yeah.
public killed a man for no reason. This could have been averted so easily if he had just gotten up.
Yeah. And even if he committed a crime, do it in the
If
right way. Put him in the car. Why are you going? He's not resisting arrest. Put him in
oh
the car,
man.
man. You get me?
And
It's
one
just
thing that was
stupid.
noted by one of the people that was there was this black man that was talking. I think you could hear him in the video talking to the police officers, telling them to get off him.
Yeah, he was the one like
Yeah,
bare loud, innit?
he referenced the police officer knew what he was doing with the way he was choking his neck. He was referencing it to a jiu-jitsu
Yeah,
move or
he
something
stood.
like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that was quite a
Yeah,
little
this
bit
guy,
interesting
man.
because all he had to do was he knew what he was doing. He was putting pressure on his neck, and even when George Floyd had passed out, he was still applying pressure to his neck. So he was not getting any breathing, any blood. No, there was no blood flow to go into his brain. So of course,
Exactly.
something fatal was going to happen. And I feel like this guy, he knew what he was
Hmm.
doing with this.
Oh, definitely.
Subhanallah.
If you look at the nonchalance in his face, bro, you could tell
Even
this
his
guy,
posture. Did
man.
you see this guy had hands in his pockets with his knee on his neck? It was like
Yeah,
it's some sort
yeah,
of superiority thing,
bro.
wasn't
Oh
it?
my days. I think that's the thing in America for me. I think it's this superiority complex because I wear the badge that I'm better than you.
100%, I
You
agree
get
with that,
me?
bro. It's
It's like that badge, the police badge gives them a license to
100%,
kill.
bro. I feel like it's
You
like
know
a
what I
gross
mean?
fetish that they have. Enforcing
Yeah,
their
it's
power is
disgusting, bro.
wallahi, it's horrible.
But it's incredible because the man who killed, I think it was Trayvon, the man who killed Trayvon Martin, so like George
Yeah,
Zimmerman,
I've heard of
the police
yeah,
officer
I've heard
George
about that.
Zimmerman. Yeah, it's crazy in America how this sort of stuff happens. The gun he killed Trayvon
Yes.
Martin with, they auctioned it. It went for 100 grand, $100,000. They auctioned it. So people,
Subhanallah.
yeah, they auctioned
Sorry,
it.
apologies for anyone. That wasn't
Yeah,
a laugh. That was just, I'm shocked.
fam. I don't know how to react to something like that,
Actually,
but
and this,
that's what's happening, bro. The fact that it's like a trophy. You know how those trophy
yeah,
hunters
with the deer, with the head of a
where they
deer.
like,
Yeah, those,
yeah,
yeah,
bro. That's what they're doing with the lives of black people in America, the African American brothers and sisters in America,
it's
bro.
like a sport to them, hunting us.
It's like a sport. What kind of thing is that, man?
Well, like, and one thing I was talking to a friend of mine about this subject, and what
Yeah.
happened was that in Minneapolis, in the during the protest, two Somali one older man, quite old. He was shot in the head, and there was another young boy that was shot. And in the comment section of this post, I was seeing a lot of how do I say this? There was a lot of mixed feelings to say the least, in the comment sections.
Yeah.
Some people saying, "Ah, these." Okay, to give a bit of context, Somali people, some of them they lean towards the Arab side of our culture, and
Yeah. Yeah.
some
Yeah.
lean towards we just say we're black. Some say we're Arab, we're not black. It's quite silly, to be honest. We're from Africa. We're all black. We're all one. It's silly, but some people are saying, "Oh, Somali people risking their lives for these black people, while they would never do the same for us." Subhanallah,
Subhanallah.
Subhanallah. What is this joke?
Yeah. I
Will
think
I take away the
that's just a
race thing?
problem with.
It's a human thing, bro. First and
Yeah,
foremost,
bro. That's the
it's a
thing,
human
man.
thing. Anyone that has a heart sees that, they see injustice, they speak out. It's not about race. Because Allah, like, if this
Yeah,
happened to a
man.
Somali person, we would want all these people to help and support. You don't see only black people protesting. There's white people protesting. There's Spanish people protesting. There's people of all races protesting. There's Asians protesting. SubhanAllah, it's not
Yeah,
just subjective to one people. It's a
one
human
hundred
thing,
percent.
bro. Anyone that's got a heart
Yeah.
will feel saddened by what's happened. And that's
hmm
what.
Yeah, that leads us on nicely, bro, because um, in terms of the Muslim stance, as Muslims, like not just as Muslims, just humans, like you said, like we should stand up to injustice. But as Muslims, if we're sat here and we're not speaking about it, at least doing what we can do, raising awareness. If we're not able to if we're not able to march next to our brothers and
Mm,
sisters, at least spread the word. Like at least do something. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's this idea is like, oh, it's in another country. It's black people who aren't Muslim, so we don't have to. Bro, it's
it's
injustice. You get
injustice.
me?
Wallahi. We're taught
You
to
know
be
we
compassionate people in the Quran.
exactly, bro.
We're taught
Exactly.
to not play this race thing where it's their problem. They're different to us. We're all one people.
hmm
Subhanallah. We're all created by Allah. You know
Exactly.
what I mean? I see my brother falling down.
Mhm.
I go and help him up. It doesn't matter what he is. It doesn't matter if he's Christian or if he's atheist or if he's, you know what I mean?
Exactly, bro. And the funny thing is, like, if you look at anti-racism, is part of our heritage as Muslims. Because if you look at like during the Prophet ﷺ's time, we had like obviously the slaves, the Abyssinian
Mm,
slaves, and the Prophet ﷺ, you could say he was like the what was the word? Like he was you could say campaigning back then, like with Bilal radiallahu anh. He was a slave, and like Prophet ﷺ said, if you are racist, you are not from me. So that shows how serious it is.
100%,
You
bro.
get me?
Yeah. And we as
And for
Muslims,
me, I think
yeah,
racist.
go.
Yeah,
No, no,
go
no,
Karen.
go. Go, sorry, bro.
Say man. Yeah, like as Muslims, bro. For me, racism it's not just like calling someone an N word or something like that. I think it's more than that. Like by you like turning the other cheek to an extent, to issues going on
Definitely, bro. Allah.
with black people. If you're not black and and a black person is being oppressed and you choose to ignore it, for me, you're part of the problem as far as I'm concerned.
100%, bro.
You get
100%.
me? If you ain't, if you're not standing with us, you're standing against us as far as I'm concerned.
Definitely, wallah. Because
You get
if
me?
something like this would happen to you, you would like someone else to come and back your side, even if they were of another race, of another gender, whatever the separation is there.
One
you'd
hundred
want that
percent,
person to come and help you in your time of need. So the bare minimum is that you
100%,
do the
bro.
same.
Yeah,
So
and mashallah, we're seeing like the way Muslims, mashallah, the way we react to the
and
injustices
just
happening
because
in like
we're
Palestine,
used to
in
it,
China, bro. We
subhanallah.
we used to
We're
this,
used to
man.
this.
It's
It's a daily
imagine
occurrence for us, Allah.
it's a daily occurrence to us now.
Wallah, billah, I'm
So
telling you.
mashallah, we I have to admit, mashallah, we do a lot in terms of raising awareness and like fighting injustice, whether it be protesting and stuff with what's happening in China, what's happening in India, Palestine, in Burma. So we've been doing this. You get me? We've been doing this,
Yeah,
but
we're
now
veterans in
it's
this
time.
field.
We're veterans, bro. We're veterans, man. But
Yeah, man.
yeah, man. We have to make sure that we're not like leaving our brothers and sisters alone, innit?
100%, bro. Wallah, we have to have the same energy for all people.
Yeah.
our own and
And the
everyone
funny
else
thing is,
included.
that's it, man, bro. And the funny thing is, once you take care, like, if people see that, yo, these Muslims are with us, bro, that's a form of dawah, you could say. Because
100%.
if you're like, I'm at this protest, you got all ethnic groups, all religious groups, but where the Muslims at? That doesn't relate. That doesn't look good, does it? But
Exactly, wallah.
if you got the Muslims at the forefront, which is actually what I've seen personally,
Yeah,
like I saw
yeah,
of it.
yeah.
Did you see the video of there's a girl, like she was quite like a teenager, and she was wearing a hijab and that, African American,
Was it the
and
tear gas one?
in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Did you see that? That's funny, isn't it? And
Yeah,
since when their bias
that
straight up
made me
just quickly
laugh.
volleyed it, bro, back to them. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that
like
was quite a
the
funny
police
video.
threw a tear gas, a canister, and since when their bike came running and grabbed the thing and rugby kicked it
They
back to
kicked it
them,
back.
bro. It was
Oh,
mad. But
mashallah.
there was another one of like there was a sister who was she was like straight up getting like proper just getting like proper shouting at the police and like it had like the the armed force, like where they have
Yeah.
like the proper SWAT team, so I don't
Hmm.
know what you call it,
Yeah.
riot police, that's it, riot police.
Yeah.
And like she was straight up in their face saying that I've lost three brothers because of this. That you lot been killing us, you've been out here killing us, like I've lost three brothers to this. I'm hurting, like you can see my eyes, I'm hurting. And that kind of hit a chord for me, but I was like, whoa. And that makes you kind of like, it brings it down to reality, because once this sort of stuff hits the media, I think it becomes more like, not it's not genre, but like it loses its
It's
essence to an
realness.
extent,
Yeah. 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 I
its
100%
realness. Because
agree
for
with
me,
you.
a lot of the time, unfortunately, like a lot of the way the media, especially, they like cover it is quite, it's not right.
It,
It doesn't do it justice.
exactly. Well, I agree with you 100%, bro.
And for
It
me, like the way she was straight up just speaking from her heart, that resonated with me, because it was like, that's what happens. We're not seeing
it loses
like
it
some,
loses
it
authenticity,
loses
doesn't it?
authenticity, because we're not hearing
100%.
like with George Floyd, we're not actually like, we're not really hearing about his family. We're not hearing about like someone's lost their child, like a mother's lost a son, someone's lost a sibling. Yeah,
Something
we're
interesting
not
about
hearing about
this is
that.
that on that same day he died was the 2 year mark of his mother's death. It was her anniversary. Just
So
subhanAllah, and this is the same time that he did. Remember when he was calling out for his mom? Wallah, when
yeah,
those two things that put two and two together, subhanAllah, wallah, I started crying, man.
wow,
The
subhanallah,
same day that his mother died 2 years ago is the same day that his life had been taken.
wow, man,
Subhanallah, man. But on the Islam point, this would be very well. I would be really good for Islam in America as well, and for the opinion of
yeah,
American people, because America's a very ignorant country in the fact that they don't know
very,
much about Islam. All they know, you ask them, oh, what do you know about Islam? They'll just say, oh, Al Qaeda, Bin Laden, 9/11.
yeah, they
And
don't,
that's
yeah,
all they know. You know what I mean? So
yeah, a lot of people, yeah,
a lot of them in the right, seeing girls in hijab, Somali people, Asian people, Muslim people, all coming together, helping them, all holding hands. They'll see,
yeah,
these people, Muslim people. I thought then the news said that they were bad people, they were this, that, but
one
they're
hundred
here with
percent,
us. They're protesting with us, and it will plant like a positive seed in their mind. You know what I mean? Because over the
one hundred
many
percent,
years, well, like Americans, they pushed the narrative of Islamophobia on these people, and I watch a lot of
yes,
videos on YouTube, and I see Americans don't
yeah,
know a lot
same.
about Islam except the negative points
Nah,
that
they
these people are
don't,
pushing. But the thing
they
about Islam,
don't,
there
man,
are no negative points.
they
It's
aren't,
just it's the media in America. They pick from the crop of one person, one bad person here, one bad person there, one
exactly,
bad person there, and then they, how do I say this? They mass advertise it to the
yes.
rest of America, and
It's an
certain
Islamophobia is an industry, bro.
it's an industry. Well, like
It's an
hundred
industry.
percent, it's an industry. It
They
makes the
they
money.
profit.
It
Yeah,
makes
they
the
profit
money.
off bigotry. They profit off this hatred. Like we talked about in
Wallahi.
the last episode of Big Brother Hisham, and I think we should touch upon it a bit today. Like with in America, especially, like you're talking about how it can improve their reception to Muslims. Like I think right now there needs to be unity. I think a country like America, where there's so much political disenfranchisement, where
Hundred
you got a
percent.
president, it's all divided, isn't it? I think if there's any sense of unity, it can only be positive.
Yeah, well, like the whole country has to come together to make a change.
Yeah, man.
I don't think
And I
any
don't
one
know whether
person
that's
can do it.
possible because there's so much divide in America. Like you were saying earlier, the states are basically their own country.
Yeah, well,
So I don't know whether it's possible, but if you start a movement in one state, it will gradually, because of the age of social media and like
mm,
touching on this issue of social media, bro. Like a lot of people think, like, what do you think? Actually, I'm asking you. Do you think do you think racism's got worse, or do you think it's just being covered now, or is it like do you think it hasn't changed but it's just being covered now?
What in terms of social media? In
Yeah,
terms
like do
of
you think that it's not necessarily getting worse? It's just it's being recorded now, so people actually seeing what's happening.
yeah, I've seen quote sorry by Will Smith. Racism hasn't changed; it's just being recorded now. Well, like, honest to God, the amount of things that have been happening for a very long time and
Yeah.
hasn't been recorded until the age of social media, where things can be shared, people can see things, people can like and retweet and share with their
Hmm.
family, and then everything is spread all over the world. Honest to God, I don't think racism's changed much. People,
Nah, I
people,
don't.
people have just
I agree.
become better at hiding their racism.
Yeah,
With
one
the
hundred
times,
percent.
with the changing times, people understand. Oh, racism is not very accepted, but I'll still keep my racist views in my head. Or I'll still give these little sly remarks to the people I see in the shopping center, or people at
Yeah, or the way I
work,
treat
or
you, or
the way I
yeah,
treat you. I'll be a bit derogatory, or you know what I mean. I'll be a bit demeaning to you, but treat someone else who's like me the same. Honest to
one
God, I just
hundred
think
percent.
everyone they've just become better at hiding their racism.
I think that's
I
what
don't
happens
think
in
it's
this. I
changed.
think that's what happens in this country.
Oh, definitely.
I think
People
there's more,
think that
more so
racism,
here,
100%, 110%, bro. People think that there isn't much racism in this country, but wallah, you'd be surprised.
bro.
You'd be
Like,
surprised.
oh my days. Like, I can
Wallah.
only speak for myself, but like, the amount of times I've experienced it, just walking on the streets, like, it just shows you, bro. Like,
Wallah.
I'm like, cheers, mate. Like, it comes to the point, yeah, where for me personally, I don't know about you, bro.
Mm,
But like for me, the amount of times that I've experienced Islamophobia and racism, it got to the point, yeah, where I just don't really care anymore,
mm,
and it's just like it's just part of your day. Do you know what I mean?
100%,
It's
wallah.
like it's like oh, there's a daily intake of Islamophobia or racism. Cool,
Ah,
that's me sorted for the day. That's me sorted for the week. You get me? It's
100%,
like
man.
it's like you know XP. It's like when you develop XP on a game, like you
Yeah,
kind of
man.
build up your
I'm
XP.
immune to it now, innit?
It's like your daily. Yeah, I'm
Wallah.
immune to it now, bro.
I'm gonna
Like
lie, I've
that. The fact
experienced,
that the fact that's happening, bro.
yeah.
Yeah, you gonna say?
Oh, no, I was just saying, well, like, personally for me as well, I've experienced Islamophobia many times in the football industry as well.
Yeah, Marshall, you're a footballer, isn't it?
Yeah, alhamdulillah, everything's going all right now. But
There's another podcast for that, bro. Don't worry. Bro.
yeah,
That's
but
if we
well,
interview you.
from a young age, man, you'd be surprised by
Yeah,
these So I'll give an example. One, I was playing football at the age of maybe it was 12.
yeah,
12. It was a tournament, and this I was defending this player, and I had him in my back pocket the whole game, normal. So he says and I'm beating him. I've got him all of that. He's not getting past me, and then well,
yeah.
like just out of nowhere, he just said to me, "Ah, are you effing Muslim? Oh, this that. Go back to your Allah or this that." And I was
Wow.
just thinking, we're the same age, yet like you don't know me personally. What's cool? Like what's inside? Like you know what I mean? Or like it's, even now I'm
Yeah.
at a loss for words. I think about it often. I'm like, why? What was the need for that? Why did he say that?
And for me,
Did he
that's
even
one reason
understand
why.
like what he
Yeah,
was saying? You know what I
yeah,
mean?
exactly, exactly.
Well, like that was
Like for
just
me,
one instance of many instances where like I
wow.
felt uncomfortable. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the thing.
It's well, like that is a podcast for another day. And you start getting
It
our
is.
points down.
That's the
Well,
thing.
like
Like,
so
it's
much to
such
talk
a
about there.
huge issue.
Well,
Exactly. Like, we could go on for days speaking about this. That's how
honestly,
much of an
man.
issue it is in society. And I think that's why, for me, like, people talk about how like racism will slowly get like it will slowly burn out because each generation is becoming more accepting and stuff. For me, I don't know about that because it's like when you look at someone, like one thing I've a lot of like like YouTube influencers and stuff.
Yeah.
Like I've kind of watched their like some videos, and they say a lot of them say like when people abuse you, like with white people, like
Hmm.
he said like a white guy, he said like when people abuse me, they abuse me. Like they won't they can't say anything about my ethnicity because there's nothing to say, is there really? Because they're the same ethnicity as me.
Yeah.
So they'll go for my family or something with, or like they'll just target me. Like
Hmm.
they'll just target my personality with like especially like hijabi, like the Muslim
Yeah.
um influencers,
Hmm.
uh like but essentially people of color was influencers a lot of the time.
Yeah.
They like say that they'll go after me like because I'm visibly like if I'm Muslim, I'm wearing hijab, I'm visibly a Muslim, so I'm visibly prone to being like attacked essentially.
Wallah.
Because they'll just see the hijab and they'll be like, oh, you Muslim and all this, you
Exactly.
Islamic and all that.
Wallah, it comes down to
If you
just
see a black
ignorance.
person, if you see a black person who's embracing their culture and they got a big afro, they'll be like, you're this, you're that.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like if
wallah, I
you're
feel you, man.
visibly, it's just that's why for me I've not really like obviously like for me like there's that it's not about like just like saying like for me it can't just be us saying that racism's an issue, bro, because it's not gonna change because it's been this long, bro. The Malcolms and the Martins was doing like they were out here
100 years,
and it
man.
didn't. You can argue it didn't work, did it? Really,
Mm.
because it's still happening. So everything they fought for and they built a legacy of it and they deserve that legacy because they essentially put their lives on the line for it. That's it's still prevalent in society. You get me?
100%.
And for me, it can't just be black and brown people always saying that racism is an issue. Oh, here's your race card, and that it can't be that. It has to be white people as well. I think for me
Supporting as
more
well,
so
doesn't it?
because it's important. Like if you looked at the issue with when the England football team they played in Bulgaria,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And the fans, the
exactly,
Bulgarian fans were
yeah,
chanting
yeah,
racist.
and all that, and for me, people were all saying like, oh, it was an amazing thing, and I was like, if for me, I was disappointed personally because I was like, if you walked off, do you realize the statement you would have made? For me, because some things is like it's just society for me. If a powerful white man stands up and says like not even just saying this is wrong, like actually doing something about it, like whether you walk off a football pitch or whether in America a billionaire owner of an NFL team invests in a black college
Mm,
or something or it's just something like that, it shows that we're with you. You know what I mean?
100%, man.
And the thing is, bro, the people who are being racist generally are white. Most of the time, like 90% of the time, are white. In all these cases, who killed George Floyd? It was a white man.
Mm,
Who killed Trayvon Martin? It was a white
yeah.
man.
But you see, it's not even like it's just so blatant. They're
Yeah,
not even they're not even hiding anymore. Like I think that is the difference of America between America and the UK. As I think you mentioned before, as you noted before, UK we're good at
yeah,
hiding racism. America is just
very.
it's public racism, and it's gotten to the point where it's
Yeah,
almost
it's
like
like a
it's
culture.
like a culture. Exactly, it's accepted. Oh, this happened. We protest for a bit. Oh yeah, it's fine. You know, it dies down. Oh, we'll get them next time.
Yeah,
And then it's sad that it's taken this many innocent people to die for something like this to have happened. And I'm not saying I agree
exactly.
with the with the violent um rioting, but this is the first time we're seeing true outrage. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
True outrage over
yeah, yeah,
pointless, meaningless deaths.
exactly,
And subhanAllah,
exactly,
it's
bro.
a joke thing, man. And when America finally
Yeah,
pattern up, whenever that is, subhanAllah, well, that's another
we've been
story for another
waiting,
day.
bro. Black people been waiting for 400 years for this to happen. It ain't happened yet, bro.
100%.
Unfortunately. So, and like, bro, you're like we were talking about the how UK hides things, and it's so true. Like this is why for me in this country, like racism is such an issue. Because in America, they will just straight up, bro. If they don't like you, they'll eradicate you through police
Definitely,
brutality. You
man.
could say if you're being cynical, you could say, oh, if we don't like you, we'll get a police officer on you. Like if we're being very cynical about it,
Yeah.
being straight up about it. In this country, bro, it's so much more nuanced because it's like even if you look at like racism in this country, bro, it's not straight up like in your face. It's the same vigor and it's the same amount of racism, but it's just channeled in a different way for me.
Definitely,
In
man.
this country, they'll do like a Grenfell Tower,
Yeah.
if that
100%.
makes sense.
Yeah.
They'll do a Grenfell Tower, or they'll like I'm not necessarily saying that was intentional. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying like it will be it's very institutionalized where people of color are being marginalized from the ground up. Whether in America, where in America, it's like Bill Cosby, Meek Mill, like people who celebrities essentially,
Mm.
yeah. Like they'll allow you to grow and they'll allow you to get to the top, yeah. And then as soon as you get to the top, then they'll grab you. In this country, for me, it's not really like that. For me, it's like the only time where you see people of color on TV or like celebrities essentially is whether they're an athlete or they essentially sell out their ethnicity, and a lot of the time they like a lot of or they kind of like what's the word? Conform. They
Mm.
conform to like the white man standard, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, I feel you
You
on that.
get me?
I feel you on that point.
Bro, like I was speaking in class once in school
Yeah.
about racism,
Yeah.
and it was like a 10-minute convo, and bro, there was one guy he turns around, he's like, how's it racist and that? And it's like for people of color in this country especially, when you see like the headlines and stuff like Jihadi John, all these sort of things, like with Meghan Markle,
Yeah.
Meghan Markle, when she had a kid and like they were comparing her kid to like a chimpanzee or something.
You're serious?
Yeah, that was like a media thing. It was like one of the newspapers, and all these men were like, oh, but it's just calling him like it's probably because he's cute or something. I was like, wow,
Man,
you don't understand. Like
that's
for
exact.
us,
Well,
yeah,
that's a
when we
perfect point of what we're talking about. How they hide it better.
like for
La
us, we
la.
were like we were all outraged. All people of color were all outraged. They were like, are you crazy? Like that is
That is
oh my,
racism.
like you just
That is
put two and two. It's just
blatant
logic, but
racism. And I feel
for
like
people who are ignorant,
they will always downplay it. They'll act like they will make us feel like we're
of
playing the race card.
course,
Like it's become
exactly.
it's become a thing where they try and make us feel guilty of feeling
Oh, here we
feeling
go.
attacked.
Here he goes again with that
With the
racism.
racism, this that, and well, it's gotten to a point where some people feel embarrassed to call the race card. Not stuff, not to call. I mean, not to call the race card, but to call blatant
To like
racism.
say it, to
To,
call
to
blatant
call
racism,
it to
yeah,
call it what it is, to call it by what it is, and we've been
100%,
made to
bro.
feel like, oh, am I doing that thing where, well, it's probably not that deep. Then I'll let it slide. And then there's more racist jokes in the office, and then you take it wrong. But the guys are like, oh, it's just banter, it's
Yeah,
just banter,
man.
and it's just, when will it stop, man? And I
This is it.
feel
And for
like
me, it's
whenever
it's
white
hard,
people,
man. Where'd you like, yeah.
oh no, sorry, go on. I've probably spoken a bit
No,
too
no,
much.
no. I interrupted you, man. Go on, bro. I
Nah, you
interrupted you.
sure? No, I just
Yeah,
wanted to
yeah.
make the point that white people I will never be told by a white person what to accept as racist or not, because for me and you, we've gone through different things. We've gone through different upbringings.
100.
I've
Yes.
personally, you can't tell me I've not personally experienced the things I've experienced just because it doesn't seem like that way to you. You don't
100,
understand the
bro.
values that I have. You haven't seen the struggle that I have seen and I've seen my parents go through. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
for them to call stuff out as not racist is complete and utter in what's the word, not incompassionate, but just
Inconsiderate.
it's inconsiderate, and
Yeah.
it's well, like it's just
Yeah, I agree with you, bro.
yeah,
Because it's
man.
like if you look at it like you're talking about people like white people and like how you can't tell me like it's not racist. It's a great point, bro. Because for me, it's like a lot of the time when we see racism, it's always like the token guy. You know what I mean? Like in this country,
Mm,
like if there's an issue of racism, oh, let's get Trevor Phillips on TV, or let's get. There's always like one person that speaks for an entire community, but like for Muslims, it'll be someone like Adil Ray, and like big shout out to Dili Husseini, he's a journalist. Like check him out, man, because he was amazing on it. And it was like this idea that he was saying that why they got these Muslims who don't even pray, they don't even like they're not they reject essentially them being Muslim, they don't like practice or nothing, but they're the voice
mm,
for our community. In the same way where people like Trevor Phillips, who's always seen like putting down black people in this country, they're the voice for the community. And then you have on these TV shows when there's an issue of racism, they get like a white man who's a PhD, he's a doctor, and all these things. I'm like, cool, you got a doctorate, you got a PhD, everything, but you haven't got like a degree in the education of life because you've not experienced racism. I've experienced racism. For me,
well, like
as a person of color
perfect
who's
words.
experienced racism, bro, I'm more qualified than someone who studied at Oxford University, who studied it for 20 years. I don't care. You can call me stupid if you want. That's what I think. Because there's things that you will
100%.
never see that I've seen. And for me, as a brown person, I'll never see things that you see as a black person. It's just how it is, unfortunately.
Exactly, wallah.
Like in this country, a black person is 9 times more likely to be stop and searched than a white person. Don't tell me that's not racist.
I've seen the statistics as well. It's
Bro,
honestly
my
it's crazy to
my
me.
mate, my mate, he's Nepalese. He was in a group of like a group of school friends, and there was a couple. It was two white kids and a few. Like he was the only like Nepalese, and there was a couple black kids. Yeah,
Hmm.
bro, he was in the town center, and they were just chilling. They were doing their own thing. Police come up. They pull up. They're like, right, lads, and they look at the. they look at the white kids, they're like, lads, you alright? You right here and stuff? And I'm thinking, wow, like that's how it is in this country, where we know what it is. You know what I mean? It's not to us it's obvious, but it's like they do it in such a way where like they're too much of like a they're not a bit. It's like cowardice in it. They're too much of a coward to say it to your face, if that makes sense.
Oh,
Like for
100%.
me,
Yeah.
if you for me personally, if you're a racist, please just straight up call me something to my face. I don't want to like say it on the podcast, but like
I'd rather you be straight up than
just straight up, because then I
doing
know
little
where
white
you
lies
are.
and
Exactly.
100.
If you call me like I'll be right. If you call me a packy on thing, yeah, you call me like cool. Now I know where you stand. So now we can create a conversation where we can try and change that, where we can try and change your idea.
To understand where it's
This
coming
is
from.
it, bro. Because
Or,
how do we get rid of racists in this country? I don't know. How do we get rid of them? Like, what do you think, bro? I'm gonna ask you
honestly, how do we get rid? That's a big question,
the $1 billion question.
and it's $1 billion. Yeah, it's a question with all the. It's a question with no answers.
It's fine.
Honest to God, I wouldn't be able to tell you how we got
Because
rid
it's
of
a
it.
tough
I'd probably
it's a
need
tough one.
a
A
lot of
lot of
thought.
thought.
Yeah,
It's a
man.
tough one for me because like, bro, if you look at like, for example, if there's a teacher who's been racist, yeah, and he's a certain age, he's of a certain time, yeah, a certain generation, and he's like he calls like a black kid the N word or something, whatever it is, and he gets fired, he loses his job, yeah. Is he not racist anymore? Because he's lost his job. If anything,
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
the thing. The light, bro, the light, yeah.
Oh,
This is one thing I
that's
hate.
so true, man.
It's like there'll be a complaint of like someone who's in work or school or whatever it is, yeah, and they're like, we've had a racist complaint. I'm sorry, you're gonna have to lose your job. We're not gonna rehabilitate you. We're not gonna educate you, re-educate you about how to not be racist and this sort of thing. Change your
Definitely.
mindset. We're just gonna fire you, and then you can now target your hate on a whole community because you lost your job. That's what it
That's
is.
exactly the point I was gonna make next. Wallahi, because they fired this guy. Now all he's just gonna have more
One
animosity
hundred
towards
percent.
the race he's been because they've lost him his job in the
One hundred
essentially.
percent, bro.
But it's like you're not helping the situation. I don't even know how to put this into words. Instead of helping this person understand why they're wrong or why the things that he thinks or the
Hmm.
values that he has are they're 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 incorrect,
Yeah.
right? Instead of helping them understand this, you've made him lose his job. Now it's on his, to be honest, I think it's a good thing that
It's a
that
start,
this
innit?
is like when they lose their jobs. No, I was gonna say that when they lose their
Yeah.
jobs, that it's put on it's in their resume or their
Yeah.
CV that they've lost his job
Yeah.
for this reason and now they can't get another job. I think that's
That
an
is true.
important thing because we can't have racism like this in the
Yeah.
workplaces like that in schools where children don't feel like children of like
Hmm.
minorities they don't feel safe in their own school environments. This is essentially where they're at for a lot extended period of time in their day. For the majority of their
Hmm.
day, they're in school. If they don't feel safe in school, then you know what I mean. Like, where are they gonna feel safe? They're gonna be forced. They're gonna stay home. They're not gonna want to go into
Yeah,
school.
man.
And I think the education system's
One
failed a
hundred
lot of
percent.
these people. And not only that, as well as racism, I think is extremely institutionalized, and it starts from your
Yeah.
parents
No one's
who,
born racist,
because no
bruv.
one's no one's born a racist. It's what you learn from your
Yeah, like
parents and your environment. If your environment's racist, then
one
you will
hundred
grow up to be
percent.
a
That's
racist.
the thing, and I think um you talked about like being institutionalized and like, how the
Yeah,
education system's messed up, and it's such a good point because it's like how do we educate these people? They're being taught that William Wilberforce ended slavery. That's what's being taught, bro. William Wilberforce, white man by himself, ended slavery. That's what's essentially being taught. That's not true. You get me? They don't talk about we don't learn about
yeah.
the how Haiti was the first country in the history of the world to be born out of a slave revolution. We don't learn about that. We don't learn about
We just learn
we
about
learn we
how
learn
Britain was
about yeah,
built and
exactly,
how
man.
they'll. I mean, what's that gonna help me? This is not this is not my
Exactly. And
country.
the
It's not
thing
my
is
heritage.
we need to learn about
I mean,
yeah, we
I
need
don't
to
mind
learn about
learning because
history,
history.
bro. And
Yeah, go on.
yeah, you're gonna say something,
Yeah. No.
bro.
I
2-1
interrupted
now,
you that
yeah.
time.
You're
Sorry,
keeping
go
the
on.
score, keeping the score, yeah. Keep a tally chart and that, yeah. But yeah, like
Yeah, man.
what's it called? Yeah, like if like you're talking about, like we're let's be honest, we're not from here. We're not, like, for me, like, how many wives
Mm,
Henry the Eighth, I don't really bother me. Do you know what I mean? Like, we need to learn about, not
yeah,
just about, like, I'm not just saying, oh, let's learn everything, like Muslims and that. Let's get a Turkey flag, Islam, like a Ottoman flag on the
definitely,
wall. And
yeah.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that you need to,
Mm.
exactly, bro. It
Just to get
shouldn't
a
have to be
balance
the
in it,
case where we're
a little
having
bit.
to keep in our own, like, where we're having to teach our fellow students about history. That shouldn't be the case. It should be a case where, like, these men, like in this country, is so, like, it's stupid. It's like we learn about the Renaissance, for example, the Renaissance, and
Mm.
how Europe was all this, like, technologically advanced and stuff, which you can argue it was at the time, but we do not learn about how, like, for example, in Europe it's the Dark Ages. But in the rest of the world, it's like such a
Mhm.
Eurocentrism, isn't it? It's Eurocentrism. Like, while in Europe it was the
Yeah,
Dark Ages,
100%. Yeah,
in the Middle East it was the Golden Age, the Islamic Golden Age. Without this Golden Age, bro, there is not gonna be a Renaissance.
100%. Allah. Exactly. You know, a lot of the revolutionary ideas that these, Europeans, they've invented. You know, a lot of it's come from what's it called?
Yeah, the Arabs.
From the Arab countries, because at the time they were so far ahead of all these
Yeah,
other countries technology wise. And something that comes into my head is the
Cordoba,
city.
yeah,
I think
Cordoba,
it's Cordoba, if I'm wrong. Yeah, they were so far,
yeah.
like
Hmm.
education, the education system, their their the way their city was run, the like the even sorry,
But yeah,
the right word for that is infrastructure. The infrastructure of their city, it was so far ahead of. This is when in Europe people were like the streets were cobble streets. People were dumping, shit on the floors and
no
stuff
worries,
like
man.
that. So, my language, sorry, but no, they took all these amazing ideas from these countries, these Islamic countries, right, in these Islamic cities, and they've taken it and they've sort of what's
Europeanized.
the word, Europeized. That's not the right word, is it?
No
Europeanized,
worries,
that's
man.
it. Thank you, bro. Europeanized. And then they take it as their own, and well, like it's like when like when is it enough?
Hmm.
When is it enough for you? You know what I mean? You go to these countries, you take their things,
Yeah.
and you claim it as your own.
Yeah, exactly. It's like in this
When is it gonna
country,
stop?
for me, this is another racist thing. A lot of racists, it's always like, they're like, the bulldog British spirit and all that. You know what I mean? Like, it's like all that. Gammons. Like, they have gammons, man. Like, these man, yeah, they'll be racist
Yeah,
to people, like, for example, of Indian heritage, of Nigerian heritage, for example, of people, like, of who are from the Commonwealth. They'll be cussing people, saying, go back to your country and that you don't belong here. They'll be cussing people whose, like, grandfathers were fought in the war, where some, like, their forefathers didn't even fight. You know what I mean? So essentially, the country that,
hundred
like,
percent.
this country and America as well. America was built on the toils of slaves. In this country is built on the toils and the sacrifices of, like, people influx from the Commonwealth, from the Caribbean, from West Africa, from the Indian subcontinent. And that's another racist thing, because we don't learn about that at school. We don't learn about how, if you look at it from the Caribbean, that some of the, like, most educated Caribbeans, you could say, came to this country and ended up being cleaners. We don't learn about that. You get me? It's such a, it's such a systemic
No,
issue where it's like we can target one part of it, but it will be insignificant, because the idea of racism in society, and Western society in particular, is so huge. But yeah, man, it's just,
mm, I ain't gonna lie. But well, like this is a
yeah,
conversation
man,
we
it's
could talk
mad,
about this for
very
days.
mad.
Honestly, there's just so much to cover, so many problems, so many issues, but you just got there's no solutions to it.
And if
Well, I
if
don't
there
think there will
is, we
be
have
for
to
a
all be
long time.
united. Yeah,
'Cause I
we
don't think
can't,
we can
man. I
ever
don't think it's possible.
eliminate racism. I don't think
It's
we
not
can ever
possible. And I
fully
think what
eliminate
what we can
racism
do
because
as
it's so
Muslims, I
deep.
think this is the thing we have to
Like,
be wary of, is, if you be realistic about it, bro. I think what we have to do is be wary of our communities. For example, I'm gonna try and do my best for my
yo, yeah.
community. Yeah, I'm gonna try and do your best for your community. And I'm not saying, like, the Asian community, or Not that necessarily. I mean, even just where you live, like in that area. Let's just make sure there's no racists in that area, or let's make sure that the
Yeah,
Muslim community in that area is united.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Let's try and do that because I'm like, let's be realistic.
Well,
I
like,
can't go and end the war in Syria because I ain't got that power. I'm not the crown prince of Saudi Arabia. I can't do that. You get me? You can't. It's that's another conversation.
and that's another conversation as well.
Yeah,
The
there's so many things to
Saudis,
talk about,
yeah,
but we need to be able to
but
just let's focus on our
100%,
areas.
man.
Let's focus on what we can do ourselves, and let's not add to the problem.
What
Yeah,
we can control, what's
racism
the
it's not
100%, bro.
as Muslims it's not part of our heritage. Islam doesn't there's no place for racism. Only religion you could say that if you it's the only religion where there's no such
None,
thing as racism.
wallahi.
There's no such thing as oppression. When Islam first came in the in Arabia, bro, it was like the liberalism today in terms of the values, in terms of no the lack of prejudice, the no prejudice, no zero tolerance for racism,
No
zero tolerance
tolerance
for
for
hate,
this
zero
country,
tolerance
yeah.
for the way you like the barbaric way that women were treated. It was very liberal. So what we have to do is we need
Yeah,
to make sure that we don't
100%.
fall into that trap. You get me? Make sure we're yeah.
100%, man. And there's these little habits like you're talking about right now, these little things that
Mhm.
we can ourselves do. And it might be very insignificant in terms of the grand scheme of things, but wallahi,
Yeah, and also you want to keep
it's better
yourself on
to
the
do
right side of
something than
history,
nothing.
innit?
You know what I mean? It
Yeah,
starts
man.
from our community.
But yeah,
Exactly, man.
it was beautiful talking to you, man.
But
Very, very beautiful talking to you today, man. We need to get
wallahi,
you on
yeah,
again
100%,
because
bro.
always, man, always, always.
Always a
But yeah,
pleasure,
man,
bro. Always a pleasure.
thanks, bro, for coming on. That was episode 8 of the Wahda podcast, brothers and sisters. If you've not checked it out on YouTube, you know what you're waiting for. Subscribe to the channel, Team Wahda. If you want to check our socials, Instagram, Team_Wahda. Follow us, give us likes on that, share it. Jazakallah khair if you've stayed to the end. Always. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.